Welcome to Software Age's webinar on the brand new integration between ARIS and SAP Enable Now. So you're here right now and we will have this webinar today. So as we know, or as you know, a new or an optimized SAP solution can challenge or even frustrate your line of business, your organization, just as much as it can frustrate your IT department. So the integration will ensure that everyone is aligned and informed with the process-oriented SAP training. So let's see today how easy it can be. Before we start, I have a quick reminder for you. ARIS is the tool of choice to design, to analyze, to manage, and to optimize your business. It is positioned as a leader for almost 20 years by leading analyst firms, and it can count on more than 25 years of business process experience. ARIS is trusted by more than 10 million users, thousands of leading companies, and is often used to support SAP implementations, process-driven SAP implementation, and also the testing. So it's used for a long time in SAP projects, and we have many common customers with SAP there. So today it's really my pleasure to welcome Mirko Voithala, he's Director in the Product and Solution Management at SAP, and Dr. Julian Krumheich from the Product Management and Software AG. So today it's your chance to learn and to ask them anything you want to know about the integration. My name is Joseph Blondeau, and I'm working as Director in the ARIS Product Marketing, and there I'm leading the SAP topics. I will be the host and also the moderator of today's session. Just from an organizational point of view, at the end of the webinar, we will have a live Q&A session. So feel free to post your questions already beforehand in the Q&A window. So I said already during the webinar, so that we have some already at the end. And if you have any other technical problems, questions, please use the chat window so that my colleagues in the background will be able to support you. So let's get started now. Talking about the ARIS SAP Enable Now integration, this is really something that our joint customer base asks for, both from the ARIS but also from the SAP side. So what we talk today is really directly set on market requirement, customer requirements that came upfront to us. So there were questions coming to us asking, how can I combine SAP Enable Now with business processes in ARIS? Or some other came and asked, well, how do I connect the content that I have in Enable Now with the ARIS processes? And so it came that my colleagues from the SAP Solution Management and also from the ARIS Product Management took over the idea, assessed the idea, discussed the ideas, and really in the end decided to implement that on their roadmap, as we also felt that it makes sense to have such a solutions. So, and now we're here today, we have this integration which is available already since September 2019. So of course, we didn't only implement the solution, we already had in the meantime some pilot ramp-up customers so that we could make sure that the solution is fulfilling the customer requirements. So indeed, for example, we have a customer called Kona, which was really one of the first company to use the integration. Just for you to know, Kona is basically the system IT service company of Coca-Cola, and they are using both ARIS and SAP Enable Now. So they were our basically one of our pilot customers, and they tested the use of the integration. And I'm quite happy that they came back with this really overwhelming feedback that you can read here. So I will read some words out loud and also, of course, comment on that. So the Kona team wanted their training groups to be able to design new training contents that was more closely aligned to the way the business processes were designed and already approved by the respective business department. So the important things here are designing new training content, aligning that with the business department, and also that it was designed but also approved by the business department. And further, they say by tightly integrating the two technologies, Kona will be able to ensure that the training resources created in SAP Enable Now align to the business processes outlined in ARIS. So the training resources are aligned with the business processes in ARIS. And that makes, in the end, basically everyone's life easier so that end user can learn about the processes, about how it works in SAP, and be better prepared to the job. So that's basically the great statement that we became from our colleagues from Kona. So thanks again for that. So, and now I would like to jump into the agenda. So we'll go through some points today in today's webinar. So first, we will look at the need to align business process management with corporate enablement. So from a more strategical point of view. Then we will detail the integration. Therefore, from a more technical point of view, how does it work? How does it look like? So there we will have also a live demo. And in the end, we will move over to the roadmap, short wrap-up, as well as the live Q&A, where you will have the chance to ask your questions. As already said, Mirko and Julian are my experts today, so thanks for joining both. And they will basically highlight our ARIS and SAP Enable Now together, offer a complete and integrated solution so that you can better train and better communicate processes and system procedures to your end user and just help them just at the moment they need it. So Mirko, Julian, stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph, for setting the scene. So I hope you can see my screen and
Yes.
you can hear me loud and clear. So essentially, our webinar today is about how to combine and harmonize the business process management topic with corporate enablement. So that means the training and learning of organizational tasks, procedures, and the overall processes. So why is that so important? Well, I think you may know it better than I do. So your organization is in constant change. So that means your processes will change as well. And this can be triggered, of course, by many different external and internal influences. So just take, for example, in your ongoing digital transformation that you must deal with new legal regulations, for example, the GDPR legislation. Or, that's also very important, as new competitors enter the market, you will have to switch to new digital services, for example, in order to meet new customer expectations. And not only that, so it's also necessary to cover technology changes. So for example, we as Software AG, we support many customers on their journey from, let's say, legacy SAP systems to new S/4HANA systems, which is very critical also from a process-related point of view. And to cope with all these changes, you need to really ensure that your employees are up to date and especially well enabled to perform their tasks and duties accordingly. And especially for this, it's essential to align your training offerings with changing business processes. And that's why we created this to create new and, of course, seamless integration between ARIS and SAP Enable Now. So that means between ARIS, as Joseph already introduced at the beginning, the leading tool for process design, approval, and publishing. So we offer here many different capabilities that helps you throughout the whole life cycle of your processes. For example, starting with a strategy definition for business, but also, of course, technical processes. You can then use our modeling and design capabilities to blueprint them. And then, for example, you can also manage your new processes from a testing perspective. So you can create test passes and synchronize them to different SAP systems. And of course, also our well-known process portal called ARIS Connect, where you can communicate and roll out all the processes. And now it's very important, also including links to training assets and SAP Enable Now to your entire workforce. And also quite important at the end, if you roll out changes in your processes, they go live, you also need to make sure that the processes are really running as they should. And this is also supported by ARIS Process Mining. Yeah, and the same is also true for SAP Enable Now.
Thank you, Julian. And SAP Enable Now on the other side is SAP's solution for large enterprise knowledge transfer. So it's been more used by approximately 4,000 SAP customers to create, maintain, and publish any kind of knowledge materials in different flavors in a collaborative way. So for instance, for formal training, informal learning, or the in-application performance support. All right, let's go to the next slide and let's try to answer the question, why to align BPM and enablement? Yeah, as mentioned beforehand, of course, our customers have been asking for that since a while. And of course, it makes totally sense to combine the both words, which are actually quite depending on each other, but are currently or have before actually have been quite separated. So, but once a process has been designed, modeled accordingly, finally, they also have to be documented at the end. And most important is, of course, to enable the workforce based on those defined processes. And yeah, BPM actually is a perfect foundation for the content creation and the knowledge transfer. So that's why to leverage this synergy of both tools, we created that direct integration via API in order to create the training materials based on the ARIS process structures in an easy way. So to sum up, like this integration allows a seamless transfer of any kind of training and knowledge material for the respective processes. So which finally allows you to better train, to document, and to communicate processes and procedures to your users, which reduces efforts and optimizing as well on the other side the resource usage. And yeah, finally, only when users really know about the processes and really understood the processes, they can act accordingly at the end.
All right, thanks, Mirko. So that was the overview. So how does it really work? So how did we realize this tight integration between both tools, so ARIS and SAP Enable Now? So as you've seen, so basically you have processes, process structures in ARIS that are already approved, for example, by the line of business or by the process owners in general. And what the integration does now is you can import these process structures into SAP Enable Now. And then, of course, you can make use of all the great functionalities in Enable Now to create training assets like simulations, like other training assets as well. And then you can import the links to those training assets back to ARIS. And there you have it directly documented next to your processes, your structures, and you can roll out your whole process content to your entire organization. So from a procedural perspective, this is basically a four-step approach. So first of all, you synchronize your structure from ARIS to SAP Enable Now. Then second, you create and add the content. Then you upload the content, meaning the links, back to ARIS, and then ARIS can roll out the business processes, including the links to the training assets. So what you will see in the next couple of minutes is we will go first of all through all these phases in a little bit more detail. And then when we have introduced to you these theoretical basics, we will like to show you the same thing live on the system. So let me start with synchronizing business process structures. So here we make use of a direct API integration between both tools. So you don't need to take care about a file export, import, for example. So it's really seamless integrated between both systems. So the connection is actually established via SAP Enable Now. So this is the tool where you start your synchronization in both directions. And so it's really handy to use this integration. From an ARIS perspective, we support basically all process-related model types. So like EPC models, like business process modeling notation models, or BPMN. And of course, you can also use custom ones. So when you derive your model types in your projects, so you are also ready to use that in this integration. In order to also reduce the number of processes I mean, you may have hundreds or even thousands of different processes, and maybe not all of them are relevant from a enablement perspective. You can also mark the relevant ones as relevant for Enable Now, and that reduces the set of processes that should be synchronized between both system areas, but you will see that later on in a minute.
All right. So, and then when you actually have synchronized the process into the SAP Enable Now environment, then it's quite easy for content developers to add any kind of learning asset. So might it be simulation, a course, textual information, documentation, so whatever you have, to map it directly to the respective process steps. So in addition, it was quite important. That was one requirement we got to also get the process diagrams as an image, as a PMT, directly transferred from ARIS to be reused in the SAP Enable Now Word. So let's imagine you would have that image showing the process, which can be used in a course, which can be used in your informal knowledge library, just to provide that information also to the users in the SAP Enable Now content. So in addition, when you have synchronized the structure, you will get an indicator whether it is about an generic ARIS object or if it is an SAP specific ARIS object, meaning which is originally coming from the SAP Solution Manager. And for me, actually most important at the end, because of course, processes are dynamic, they're subject of change. So whenever a process has been changed, the question is like, okay, how is this information coming to the content developer once a process has been changed in ARIS? So, and for that actually, whenever a content developer is checking out a process which has been checked out before already, then actually you get an overview or a special filter, which is showing you actually all the changes, all the objects that has been changed. So it provides the content developer with the clear information, okay, whether I need to update that documentation here or I need to create a new documentation for. So at the end, when all the content has been mapped to the processes in the SAP Enable Now producer, then finally the content can be exported. But as already mentioned by Julian before, the content physically still remains in the SAP Enable Now Word, namely on the SAP Enable Now Manager, but only the links to the published content will be transferred back to ARIS. So that means the content remains in the Word where it can be easily maintained and updated to not mix up both words, but finally to allow the easy access from ARIS to the published content on the SAP Enable Now Manager.
Exactly, and when you have it synchronized back to ARIS, you will see it, for example, in the portal, in the steps view, and you can easily navigate from there to the SAP Enable Now training asset, and that's what you will see now in the live demo. So I will switch to my ARIS system as the starting point. What you can see here is, for example, the sales order management value chain. So it starts with a customer qualification, then with a quotation processing in an ERP system, like for example, SAP. Then you proceed with the contract processing, and in the end, it's the handling of the actual sales order processing. So I can navigate down, let's say, to one level deeper. So for example, to an underlying business process model. In this example, an EPC model. So here you see clearly how the process should be executed, started with check sales, contract and documents, etc. And it ends at the end with a completed sales order transaction. And I'm now interested, for example, and what I would like to achieve is I would like to add training assets to all these different steps, especially, for example, here to the create sales order step, a simulation, because maybe I changed here from a former SAP transaction to a new Fiori app, and I would like to inform my employees how this now works with the new environment.
All right, then let's go to now to the SAP Enable Now site. So I hope you can see my screen, which is currently showing the producer. In the SAP Enable Now world, this is actually one of out of 5 different components offered by SAP Enable Now, and the producer is mainly used by trained content developers in order to create, edit, maintain, and finally publish the content. So on the left side, I have my content structure, and that means finally my knowledge architecture of what I'm creating and finally rolling out. So I have different media assets here. I have my creation area. This is actually the view of the master author, and here the publishing view. That means for all the content that is published for different channels finally. So that means I would like to have now the business process from the ARIS side, which is a new channel. That's why I'm going to create a new group here, saying, okay, here I'm going to sync my ARIS processes. And as we are now starting with the sales order management, to have a better overview, I'm creating a new group for the sales order management. So once done, as mentioned, the integration comes directly and seamlessly via API from the producer to ARIS by going to the tools menu. And here actually have the possibility to import any kind of process model directly from ARIS. So you have to provide the respective credentials to your ARIS environment. And once done, you can actually decide which database to use, and most important, which ARIS model types should be considered to be imported here. Most important, as ARIS customers have their or might have their custom model types, you can extend this list even by your own customized model types, in a flexible way. So then, if you want to only check out SAP and Enable Now relevant content that has been flagged within ARIS, you simply can use this checkbox, and then actually only the respective tag content will be considered for the checkout. So in the very next step, I will be asked, okay, which kind of model I want to import into our SAP Enable Now world. In that case, we have sales order management. I can decide whether I want to generate those model pictures to be reused in the SAP Now world, and if I want to consider assigned models and to which level, to which extent. So finally, you just have to click OK, and then the business process structure is being imported and displayed in our knowledge hierarchy here to the left. So let me just have a look what we have here. And as mentioned beforehand, so you get an indicator whether this is a generic ARIS object, which is indicated by this icon here, and all the other icons are belonging to the SAP specific ARIS object, which is coming from Solution Manager. So this is actually what we call a subtype. So you can find all the subtypes here that are provided and that are being used when importing the structure. On the other side here to the button, you will find the media asset. So that means the PNG has been directly converted to an SAP Enable Now media asset. That means you can make use of that image now and reuse it, for instance, to be displayed in your course, to be displayed directly in your in-application help, or might it be for informal learning, whatever you have. So you can easily reuse this process overview. Okay, but now let's add some content. So we want to add some content for the process step, create sales order. And I have, so to not bore you in the content creation itself, I've prepared already some stuff. And most important here as well, it is about reuse. So let's say, okay, I know for the desktop assistant rollout, we already have some transactions, that are being shown. And so I'm going easily to take my existing transaction here, VH01, copying it, and finally to be inserted here for the create sales order. Most important, I'm using here it as a reference. That means like, okay, even though this knowledge asset is being used for different publication channels, I only have to maintain it once. So quite important to save a lot of work and to scale that scenario. So, but in addition, let's go maybe to the creation area, because here in the creation area, I have provided a book page, so an interactive page describing the cycle a little bit more in detail. So I'm going to take that as well to be copied here, because I would like to have this actually as a reference to be finally accessed from ARIS as well. So that means like, and as you can see, you can actually add any kind, the amount of content doesn't matter. So that means like whatever you have, you can simply edit here. It's not restricted to only one asset per process step. And once you have done that, finally, you can easily then put that back to ARIS. But I think, Julian, maybe let's describe on how the filter works for change management.
Yeah, sure. So I think you mentioned it before. So what will happen if I change the process? So how will these changes reflected in the Enable Now world? So I just add here in ARIS a new process step and click on Save. And then let's see what will happen.
Okay, so now I'm going to re-import the very same process. So all the credentials actually have been remembered and saved. So I'm simply checking out the process again. And when checking it out, it is being recognized that there is a change compared to the last checkout. And hence, producer is asking me if I would like to create that update filter to get an idea of which object has been changed based on my last checkout. So I'm clicking on yes to get that filter. And finally, what we can already see here in the structure, I think, this is your new process step you have just created.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. So that means, okay, of course, this is quite obvious in the list, but let's imagine you have a way larger process. So then actually you can make use of that automatically created filter. So the ARIS change overview. So by using that filter, it provides you all the objects that have been changed. And when talking about change, of course, it means like when an existing object has been updated, it is displayed here. So it means like the documentation has to be checked, whether the documentation has to be updated as well. It might be like in this case that we have new process steps that might, that have to be documented. That's why they will be shown here as well. And when an object from the ARIS side has been deleted, it will be deleted in our world here as well. So that you do not need to maintain the documentation for deleted steps or change processes anymore. So you can finally easily go back. So by just using the filter again. So, and what I need to do now is like, I need to check in this to the SAP Enable Now Manager, our server component, to finally get the published links. So what I'm doing for now, which is actually not best practice, I'm going to check in just one folder here. This is just because I want to save some time and do not want to upload all of the content. But finally, of course, best practice is you have to upload all the structure to the SAP Enable Now Manager accordingly. And but yeah, just let's save some time. While uploading it, I have automatically published that content here as well, which actually can be seen here within the start link section. So as you can see, we have a published view already. A link is being provided here. And just to check if the content I've been added here is also published already, I'm simply going to the respective link section, which shows me, okay, the content is already published and should be accessible by end users accordingly. So hence, I've done my job from the content creation side. And what I'm doing now, I'm going to export the content, or as we have learned, the links to the content back to ARIS. So for that, I'm using actually the export option. And most important here, when exporting it, so if a content is not published, I can also use the authoring preview. So if it's just like for an internal test or on a test system, you can make use of the authoring preview. That means it is only accessible by the content developers of SAP Enable Now. But if you have published the content, you have to choose the published view to make that finally available to the end users as well. So that's it from my side. And let's have a look back to ARIS on how it looks on your side now.
Yeah, so let me share my screen again. So now we are back in the ARIS tool. And what you can see here, when I select the step, there is no link that you can see. If I now refresh the page so that it will load the new content, then you will see, let me scroll down a little bit, that you have here an SAP Enable Now link. So you could open it over here and you get directly navigated to the corresponding training asset. So in this example, you have here your recording of the transaction. So you could play that in order to get a feeling how you should act on this transaction. So where to click, what to enter here. Of course, you can also add here many other information like bubbles, like pop-up windows. Yeah, Mirko, anything to add here?
Yeah, no, actually, we have quite different simulation modes. So this is on the demo mode, and from the user point of perspective, it's actually acting like a movie to get a better understanding of the new or change processes. So, and yeah, finally, of course, you have a lot of options to work on the content accordingly. But this is actually just to give you an example on what kind of assets you can link. And of course, we have other flavors, so not only the demo mode, but also, as you can see, the practice mode. The user can play it on their own. They have to click on their own. Test mode, which is not giving any feedback, but allowing the user to test the process. And at the end, the concur mode, which runs like as the name states, let's say in a concurrent way, while the user is already working in the target application. So, but finally, you can decide which kind of modes you want to transfer. So here, just like the default, I did not even put in a description, which will be shown here normally. So, but of course, you can, in a flexible way, you can decide what kind of modes and assets you would like to have to be accessible in the ARIS environment. So then the other one, this is what we have just added here. It's just what we call a book page, so an interactive page that is being created in the producer and now available from within ARIS as well. Just to give you the idea, okay, it doesn't matter whatever you can produce with SAP Enable Now with regards to e-learning and knowledge material can be easily linked that way directly for ARIS.
Mm-hmm. So, and of course, you can not only see here the link in your designer tool, you will also see it here in the process portal. So let me refresh the page here as well. So you will see it, first of all, here in your diagram view, for example, when I open the property view. So there's also the link, but also, for example, in our steps view. So the steps view is really a good entry point for those employees that are not that comfortable or knowledgeable about different process notations like BPMN, for example. So here they can easily navigate through the different steps to see, okay, what roles are involved, what position, what are the documents that are attached to those steps, and of course here directly the link to the SAP Enable Now training asset. So always how we can publish content, process content, you will be able to see this new link to the training assets. Yeah, so this was in a nutshell our demo. So to sum up, so what are really the benefits that you get out of this integration? So this perfect match between both tools. So first of all, you get a complete and integrated solution between both leading corporate process and training tools. You can be supported by SAP Solution Success with a process-driven training. You can easily set up and have a low maintenance of maintaining both sides in terms of synchronizing the process content. And of course, you provide end user friendly and process oriented trainings to your entire workforce via the ARIS portal. And at the end, of course, that helps you to better train and communicate the processes and system procedures. As Joseph mentioned at the beginning, so this integration was just made public in September 2019. And as it was also outlined at the beginning, we feed different customer feedback already into the development. So we had some pilot customers that have seen the integration already, and which helped us to change the implementation before it went live public. But of course, we are not at the end yet. So we have already some ideas what to improve, what to add in the future. And we would like now to conclude with a short outlook.
Right, and I'm looking forward to that. So to have the very next step of the integration, and yeah, let's have a look what we have in mind. For our next common releases. So first of all, and I'm looking really forward to that. It's to not only have actually when exporting the content back from the SAP Now world to the ARIS world, to not only have the links in the properties section, but also to allow or to enable you to decide whether you would like to create a new training object to be displayed in addition to the link, or as an alternative to the link. So that means like, okay, you will be able when exporting to define to have a link, or to create a training object, or to have both when exporting back the content to the ARIS world. So then we need to rework and to optimize the checkout of the SAP Enable Now relevant objects, to have that actually once you have marked that on a meter level. So currently you have the need to make that happen for each and every object. So we need to improve that. Also, we would like to improve the synchronization, the user notifications within the SAP Enable Now world. So to provide, for instance, a success message when you have exported the content. So it's not rocket science, but we would like to improve that a little. Also, we want to provide an option, a dedicated option for direct deletion of already synchronized objects or links within ARIS from the producer. So let's say, okay, you have synchronized knowledge objects already, you have the links into ARIS, but of course you want to easily delete them also from the SAP Enable Now site, and that's why we want to provide a dedicated option here to make that happen more easy. So, and then at the end, another fact I'm looking really forward to is like to transfer also links to the process diagrams. So not only the process diagrams, that can be, for instance, offered for the in-application hub. I would like to show it to you directly, but maybe first let's mention whenever you have further feature requests. So when playing around with the integration and you have other ideas in mind that might be helpful for your projects, please do not hesitate to raise your requests. So here actually we have provided the link. That means like on the one side for ARIS, you can make use of the first link. And if it is about SAP Enable Now, please make use of our inner customer continuous influence program. So just provide your input here, which is reviewed on a regular basis and then will be considered for the next updates. Okay, but let me now show you the idea of providing the links to make use of those links within the SAP Enable Now web assistant, just to give you an idea about the possibilities and that use case and having the links directly. So what I'm opening here is SAP SuccessFactors, and let's go to the recruiting area, because here I've prepared that already. So I've taken a link from ARIS, which is not yet being transferred via the synchronization, so but soon. And when clicking the question mark, for those who do not know, then actually the web assistant pops up. So that means the SAP Enable Now web assistant is one part of SAP Enable Now as well. It's an in-application hub that provides the user with training, context-sensitive material directly within the application. So everything can be consumed without having the need to leave the application, without media disruption, and again, most important, in a context-sensitive way. So wherever the user is, different information is being provided. Might it be indicated by those hotspots? Might it be by the videos that are being integrated, or learning assets that can be directly provided in the application? So by doing so, actually the web assistant can be used as a context-sensitive delivery mechanism. And yeah, and we thought so the same. It could be done actually for an ARIS process to provide an overview, for instance, here in the recruiting area, to directly open the a process map, which can be consumed here, providing an overview to the user, and even more important, allowing the user to have to access more details on the respective process step from the ARIS side as well, just directly from within the application. So I just open here, one process step to get an additional information. So it's quite easy actually to combine both words here as well. And yeah, just by showing you that is actually the idea here from our side, to also consider the links that will be synchronized, and to make use of the links to the process maps in the SAP Enable Now world, as shown here, for instance, within the INAP help. All right.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mirko. Thank you, Julian, for the great insights and the demo. I really liked it. I see from the number of questions that the interest is very high, so I'm happy about it. And before I go through the questions of Q&A, I already have a first question I had from the chat. So you just showed that we can really embed the information from ARIS here, but when will these functionality be available? Is there a date or a timeline for this?
There is at least an idea. So that means the idea is, or the plan is to make that happen in the beginning of next year, which will be then also reflected in our roadmap. And yeah, so I would say that from our side, from the SAP Enable Now side, in the beginning of next year. So hopefully in our February release.
All right. Anything to comment, Julian, on that?
No. So that's also our plans that we
Okay.
provide it as soon as possible. So should be early next year. Exactly.
Perfect. Thank you. And now I will try to go through all the questions from the Q&A. So the first question will be, what version and modules of ARIS do I need to integrate with SAP Enable Now? And what version of SAP is required? And does it work with S4HANA?
All right, so the first part on the ARIS side, so what you need is the ARIS version 10.0 service release 7 at least. So that's the first version that offers this integration. And you also need a dedicated license in order to enable this API to communicate with SAP Enable Now.
And here, maybe from the SAP Enable Now side, what you will need is actually our latest version, which is by now 1905. So SAP Enable Now 1905, 1908, sorry. And yeah, we will just provide a new version 1911 by the end of next month. So, but by now it's actually the latest version. There, the integration is directly provided in the producer interface.
Thank you. Anything to add regarding S4HANA? Does it work with S4HANA?
Here the question is like, what exactly should work with S4HANA? So of course you can document your business processes by using ARIS with about S4HANA. You can make use of both of Web Assistant in S4HANA, that works. You can make use of recording simulations or create any kind of knowledge asset for S4HANA as well. So the answer is yes, it works.
All right, thank you.
Maybe one extension, Mirko. So I think your tool also works agnostic from an application perspective. Huh? So you could also record any click paths in applications, so not only SAP, right?
That's basically right. What we need for that is actually what we call application profiles. That provides us with some flexibility, but mainly, yes, it works agnostic, but still depending on the so-called application recognition profiles for the recording. And most important, the Web Assistant currently is available in some SAP applications, and we're working on to make the Web Assistant available in even other applications as well. Yeah.
Thank you. We have a lot of more questions. So
sorry.
that's good. Could you import a full process house from ARIS and not just a single process?
Yeah, basically, yes. So what you've seen already in the demo is not just a single process. So we started with the value chain diagram, and there was already, I think, 5 or 6 different processes assigned, and then we only focused in the demo on one particular process. But as you also have seen in the synchronization dialog, you can also define the number of hierarchy levels you would like to import. So there is many ways to import different processes at once.
Thank you. Another question, I'm not sure I get it right, but maybe you do. Are any links back to ARIS created on process tab level and saved in Enable Now?
Not yet, but as mentioned, will be part of our next release. And maybe to make you aware, I think I haven't shown it. So within the properties section in the SAP Enable Now producer world, you will find additional properties from about the ARIS object, just here below on the button. But currently, as you can see, there is no link being provided yet. But again, this is one of our next items to provide the links to the respective models here as well.
Thank you. Another one is the ARIS front end. You showed an end user view or an admin process developer view, Julian.
Yes, I think you've seen. Am I muted or can you hear me?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. So I think you've seen different views. So you've seen on the one hand side our process designer. So that was the tool where I also added a new process step. But you also seen, at least for some seconds, our process portal, which is really the end user view. So where you consume the process information, the diagrams, but also, of course, other information related to the processes and other assets in your organization.
Okay, thank you. Another question, what's best practice if you want to use SAP model company processes? Do you export model company processes, add in what your company needs for a true process flow, and then export to Enable Now?
So I guess what you could start with is that you import the model companies, so basically reference content provided by SAP into the solution manager, and then you can synchronize this content also back to ARIS. In ARIS, you can then decide, okay, what portions of the reference processes are relevant for me, which ones do I need to update or adapt to my organizational needs, and then this changed and of course also approved content by your process owners can then be synchronized to SAP Enable Now. So that would be one option, one recommended path that you could follow.
Okay, thank you. Do you expect end users to navigate through ARIS to understand processes, or is it the intent for them to use SAP Enable Now? And additionally to the question, what about processes that link in and out of SAP?
Mm-hmm. So I think ARIS is for example, it depends, I would say, on the use case. So what you've seen at the end, and Mirko's demo, if you have a particular question, when you're just stuck maybe in performing a transaction in SAP, you can open these in-app application help, and then in the future could navigate to ARIS if you need some more information. Or if you are interested in how does the process work from end to end, for example, then you can also browse through this content in ARIS in the public view. So it depends what you want to achieve.
Any comments on processes linking in and out of SAP? So meaning steps carried out in the SAP system, but steps carried out into another system?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, in ARIS, you can capture the whole end-to-end chain. So no matter if it's an SAP-supported process, if it's a process step that is supported by another application, or if it's even a manual step, so you can represent it in multiple ways. And if there is a relation to SAP, for example, then you will see it also when you synchronize the structure to Enable Now in the or by the icon. So I think Mirko, you showed it, that we have dedicated icons showing directly if it's sub-related content or if it's let's say a generic ARIS process step, process, etc. Yeah. So what you can just see here in Mirko's screen sharing.
Perfect, team. Thank you. I have some comments or questions regarding the licenses and licensing and access requirement. So we already mentioned the release versions that are needed for that. So I think that's enough. If you have more questions, the person who asked that, then maybe just get in touch again. Where can I find more information on the published view and the ease of use and access by the end users? I think it's about finding information on how it works. Or do you understand it another way, Julian, Mirko?
No, I think as well. So it might be about the documentation and where to find out the description. So I'm not sure whether you are already an SAP Enable Now customer. If you if you are, then in that case, I would ask you to make use of the latest release notes of SAP Enable Now, which can be found on the SAP Enable SAP Help portal. Just navigate to SAP Enable Now and open the release notes documentation, and there actually is also an interactive training provided. So a simulation showing you step by step on how it works. In addition, of course, it is mentioned also in the producer documentation and in the SAP Enable Now Info Center, just to show it, which can be directly accessed from here. So you will, that link using the Info Center. So, and there you will find also further information about it. And yeah, if you're not able to find those information, please do not hesitate to contact me. Then I will send you just the link list, or maybe we will just provide that at the end along with the PowerPoint.
Thank you. So I have some questions about when the features are going to be available. As said, what we saw today, it was is available since September. Some of the rest stuff is going to be available at the beginning of next year. And I think you don't have to add anything on that, or do you? Just to make sure.
No.
So no more detail. Okay, perfect. Another question. How are the VA01 recording demos made? Which tooling has been used? Is there a link tutorial where I can learn more about that?
Right, this is actually just standard functionality of SAP Enable Now. So that means here just kind of have a look. So the simulation, what you have seen, that was almost looking like a movie, like a video, which is actually HTML, has been created in the SAP Enable Now world, mainly by the producer. So that means like by having an application recording. So it supports actually the user to record a process step by step, and based on those recordings, we are capturing the actions, we're animating the mouse, we're creating the texts that are being displayed here. So default text that is being created automatically that allows you here to be edited in an easy way. So that means like the tool for that is SAP Enable Now. If you want to get further information, have a look on the SAP site. Just Google or search for SAP Enable Now. You will be directed to the product site. And finally, maybe to show that on the product side as well, you will have a link, I think, under the training section to the SAP Enable Now Info Center. So that is actually our knowledge portal, and that provides also a good case. So you will find a lot of documentation, simulations, how-to simulations in there. And most important, this library here has been created by using SAP Enable Now as well. So that means like it's a pure case of what might be possible when using SAP Enable Now. So I hope you will find those information. Otherwise, again, here as well, do not hesitate to contact me, so I can provide you with further information on SAP Enable Now as well.
I think we have an additional question also there. Is the manager a prerequisite or just a producer?
Oh no, it's a prerequisite because so finally, let's say it that way. So not mandatory, but if you really want to have at the end published links to be made available to your end users, it will need the manager. Because finally you can you can set up the connection by just using the producer. You can create the content by just using the producer. But as mentioned, physically all the learning assets are still remaining in the SAP Enable Now world, and we're just transferring back the links. And if you will not have the manager, you will not have the possibility to host this content, to publish it accordingly, and to make it available to your workforce accordingly. So that means like just creating the content and playing around with that, you can just use the producer, but if it is really for productive use at the end, you will have the need of the manager as well.
Okay, thank you. When send or synchronize the structure to SAP Enable Now, how to align the structure with SAP Solution Manager? Do I also get SAP ideas?
Would you like to?
Let me read it again. So
it's about the connection with SAP Solution Manager and SAP ideas.
So I'm not sure actually. So if we also synchronize the SAP IDs to Enable Now, at least you have the ARIS IDs.
Yes.
So you could make a trace back on the ARIS side to the SAP IDs. But I think if this is relevant, that's also something which we should consider on the roadmap.
Sure. So maybe let's just put this point on the list as well. Just to mention that beside, we have a similar integration, a direct integration to Solution Manager as well, which works quite similar to what we have shown here. But nevertheless, would be a good idea to have the ID of the respective Solution Manager object here with the ARIS synchronization as well.
Okay, thank you. Another question in that regard. How is SAP Enable now positioned with regards to Solution Manager, because their process training documentation can also be maintained?
Yeah, but
Right.
as mentioned already just 1 minute before, it is actually we are having the same synchronization, the same idea for SAP Solution Manager as well. So the positioning is quite the same. That means that SAP Enable Now actually is able or capable to provide any kind of documentation to be directly synchronized back to Solution Manager as well. The very same, the content is still part of the SAP Enable Now universe to make the maintenance way more easier, whereas the links will be written back to the Solution Manager. So it's about a similar synergy here as well.
Okay, thank you. So I have other questions. Do you have 5 minutes?
Sure.
What happens if I'm not using SuccessFactors, but another tool for human resource management? Do you have links back to SAP Enable Now from other tools like Workday?
Okay, finally, maybe this is referring what I've shown here with the web assistant. So the web assistant itself is not implemented in Workday. So as mentioned, it is currently part of SAP web-based solutions, and we're going to integrate the web assistant into any SAP solution which is part of the intelligence suite. This is what we're working on. But finally, when it comes to SAP Enable Now, at the end you will always get links, like for instance for that info center. So that means like any content will have a unique and persistent link that can be integrated into any application. So by just providing the link, for instance, in the hub menu, or by using the customization option of the respective application to put an additional question mark to allow or to enable the access to the respective materials. So that is possible. In addition, we have also the desktop assistant, which works quite similar like the web assistant from the use case perspective, namely by providing contextual information on top of a respective application. And that also works for non-SAP applications. So it depends on the application what you want to go, but currently the web assistant is only available for SAP applications.
All right, thanks a lot. So I have many other questions. I don't think we will go through all questions. So there are questions about the recording, if it will be made available after the webinar. Yes, the slide deck, I guess we can arrange that. So if we get in touch, then we can send also the slides. So can we get a demo license on premise? Have this other question?
I think it refers to ARIS.
Yeah.
Personally, I think so, yes, but I think you need to contact your local responsibility person at Software AG, so they will help you out with demo licenses and other questions in terms of licensing, etc.
Okay. And I will take a last question. Can SAP Enable Now work the same way with other process modeling tools?
Currently, with regards to that direct API-based integration, it is only possible with SAP Solution Manager, and we have support for other BPM tools, but just by manually transferring Excel files.
Okay, thank you. Then we will collect the questions. If we have some questions we didn't answer, then we will get back to you. So sorry for not having answered every single questions. Thanks again a lot, for Mirko, Julian, for answering the questions, making this great demo.
Very welcome.
You're very welcome.
It was my pleasure to have you today. As said before, the recording will be made available soon, so you will get the information via mail afterwards. And if you have any other questions, feel free to contact us. And furthermore, we will have some updated information, also the link to the recording in the ARIS community in the next days too. So thanks everyone for participating, and have a nice day.
Yeah, thanks to everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.